You know that feeling when you replay a conversation over and over in your head, just stressing that you said the wrong thing? Or maybe you've spent like way too long trying to pick the perfect outfit for a party. Well, we're about to unpack that powerful, totally universal, and sometimes kind of overwhelming concern we all have for what other people think.
I mean, it's a question that hits home for literally everyone. From the clothes we pick out to the stuff we post online, that little voice wondering if we're being judged is pretty much always there. So, what makes that feeling so incredibly powerful?
Let me tell you this wild, real life story. A writer is in New York's Penn Station, and a woman comes up to her, clearly super distressed. Turns out she lost her wallet and has been asking strangers for money for hours just trying to get home. But get this, her very first words are an apology. She's worried that this total stranger might think she's crazy. Even in a moment of absolute desperation, her biggest fear is being judged. That story is the perfect setup for a classic psychology experiment from way back in 1951. A researcher named Solomon Asch put together a test to figure out just how strong this need to fit in really is. He wanted to answer a pretty shocking question. Could peer pressure be so strong that it literally changes what you see? Okay, quick pop quiz for you. Take a look at the line on the left. Now, which line on the right, A, B, or C, is the exact same length? It's C, right? Obviously. There's no trick here. And this is exactly what Ash showed the people in his experiment. Seems like a simple, straightforward task, but that's where things get interesting. So here's the incredibly clever setup. Imagine you're in a room with 7 other people, but here's the catch. You're the only real participant. Everyone else is an actor. For the first couple rounds, everyone agrees on the correct answer. Easy enough. But then the line test comes up again. You can see with your own 2 eyes that the answer is C. But the first person says A. Then the next person says A. And the next. One by one, they all give the same completely wrong answer. Now it's your turn. So what do? Do you trust what you see, or do you go along with the group?
The results were absolutely staggering. I mean, look at this chart. A whopping 72% of participants, that's almost 3 out of every 4 people, gave the wrong answer at least one time, just to fit in with the group. Only about a quarter of the people consistently trusted their own gut over the pressure from the crowd.
Ash himself was really troubled by what he found. He wrote back in 1955 that intelligent and well-meaning young people are willing to call white black, just to conform. He realized this wasn't about being smart or not. It was about this profound, deeply human need to belong, even if it means ignoring the truth staring you right in the face. Okay, so the Ash experiment shows us that we conform, but it doesn't really explain why. See, the reason we're so vulnerable to peer pressure isn't some kind of modern character flaw. Nope. It's actually a primal survival instinct that's been baked into our DNA for millions of years. And this is the logical next question, isn't it? Why on earth would someone choose to say something they know for a fact is false? Well, the answer takes us way, way back in time. This timeline really puts it all into perspective. If you go back 50 million years, our ancient primate ancestors needed their group to survive. It wasn't just a nice to have, it was a life or death situation. If you got kicked out of the pack, you were on your own. You'd either starve or get eaten by a predator. So the individuals who were hardwired to fit in, the ones who really cared what the group thought, they were the ones who survived and passed on their genes. And that powerful instinct is still with us today. All right, so that ancient survival instinct explains our deep fear of rejection. But fitting in is actually more complicated than just copying what everyone else does. We also have to build trust. And this is where a really cool concept from game theory comes into play, which helps explain why we don't just care what people do, but why they do it. The concept is called cooperating without looking. And what it means is pretty simple. It's when you help someone without first stopping to figure out what's in it for you. You don't calculate the costs and benefits, you just do it because it feels like the right thing to do. And that kind of action sends a really strong signal that you're genuinely trustworthy. Just think about it like this. We all know these 2 types of friends, right? You've got the authentic friend who helps you move without even asking how heavy the couch is. They're cooperating without even asking. And then you've got the strategic friend who asks, so how long is this going to take? And will there be pizza? They're doing the math. And that instinctively makes us trust them just a little bit less. So here's the bottom line. We instinctively trust people who cooperate without looking because their help isn't some kind of transaction. We believe they're going to have our back even when it's hard or inconvenient because they're guided by their principles, not by what's easiest for them. And that's why we care so much about what they think of us. Their approval means we're seen as trustworthy too. So, this deep desire for approval is both a primal survival instinct and a key part of how we build trust. But how do we actually manage this powerful drive in our day-to-day lives? Where's the line between a healthy concern for what people think and an unhealthy obsession with their approval? There's definitely a point where this natural, healthy concern can cross over into something not so great. It's sometimes called approval addiction. That's when you're constantly stressed about what others think, or, and this is a big one, when you find yourself changing who you really are, your core beliefs, your passions, just to make other people happy. So here's a quick, healthy self-check you can do whenever you feel that pressure. First, just try to be objective. Are you positive they're judging you, or are you maybe just assuming the worst? Second, consider the source. Is this person's opinion actually worth your concern? Third, ask yourself, how much would I have to change about who I am to get their approval? And finally, would that change actually be a good thing for me in the long run? In the end, it really all comes down to this. We are biologically wired to care what other people think. It helped our ancestors survive, and it helps us build trust today. But in a world that is just flooded with opinions, the real challenge is figuring out which voices are worth listening to. So the question I'll leave you with is this: how do you quiet all that noise and learn to listen to your own?